Hi, everyone. I'm Jane Applegath, and welcome to the Epic Vision Zone. Today's epic female entrepreneur, Marley Broudie, is coming to us from Toronto, Canada, my hometown. Marley launched her company, SocialEyes Communications, in 2015. Her vision to fuel online marketing opportunities for business success so that entrepreneurs could fulfill their wildest potential. With a passion to follow her vision, Marley left her corporate job as a paralegal at one of Canada's leading litigation firms to pursue a career in business development and marketing. This is where she honed her skill in digital marketing, content creation, social media marketing, and business development. Her goal-oriented approach and ability to help clients develop a vision to drive growth is her fuel for success and the success of her clients. With a team of talented employees now at her side, Marley has expanded her influence, being featured in Women Entrepreneur, Women of Influence, Social Media Examiner, Small Business Trends, and much more. As a young female entrepreneur with a big vision to empower entrepreneurs just like her, and as a mother of two beautiful children, ages 3 and 4, Marley's motto keeps her going strong and steady. There are enough hours in the day to accomplish and grow, she says. There just needs to be a method to the madness. Welcome, Marley Broudie.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. So excited to have you on the show. I wanted to ask you, what made you decide to become an entrepreneur?
That's a great question. I would say that, I've always had this innate sort of tenacity to do more. I always wanted to strive to do more. Like, I guess you could say I have a little bit of the hustle in me. And, when I was working at the law firm, it was great and I learned a lot, but there was just that, internal voice saying, there's more out there. There's definitely something to be said about doing things for yourself and sort of waking up each day with a blank canvas and knowing that you can write your own story. And I think that was sort of the path pushing me forward to entrepreneurship.
Right. So what I'm hearing is that probably corporate was a little slow for you. Maybe, possibly. You were so bursting with ideas and imagination and so on and so forth. So that's really interesting because a lot of entrepreneurs feel the same way. They don't like to be in the box. They like to have that expansion and be able to grow. And so moving from that corporate job with the stability of a paycheck and most likely benefits and all of that goes with corporate, what was it like when you made that transition from from employee to entrepreneur? Because a lot of women want to make that transition, but usually it's fear that holds us back. How was it for you?
Yeah, so there was definitely a lot of fear, a lot of what if scenarios that ran through my head. I'm just by nature a what if person, and I tend to, overthink a lot of scenarios. And so it was definitely very nerve-wracking, like the process in general. And the way that things sort of happened and how things fell into place was actually quite serendipitous, I guess you could say. I got married. I was on my honeymoon. I came back to Toronto, and I was actually surrounded by a family situation that afforded me some soul searching time. I took a leave of absence from my position at the law firm that I was working at. And I really dug deep, and it took a lot of time and a lot of support from my husband to sort of come to the conclusion, like, Marley, what is it that you want to do? We don't have children. We, live in this tiny little apartment. Our expenses aren't through the roof. And if there's a time to make a move, that time is now. And it's sort of, nerve-wracking, kept me up at night. But I knew that I had to do something, and that kind of pushed me in the direction to just do it.
Yeah, to take the leap. Right.
Exactly.
So sometimes it takes a life-changing situation to make us realize that life is short. And yes, it can be
Yeah.
scary, but we need to reflect and say, is this really what my life is going to be about? And before we know it, it's gone. And it's so encouraging to see that you did take the leap, and you spread your wings, and look at you now, you're flying. That's fabulous. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. Thank
So
you.
you're welcome. Solopreneurs often get stuck in a situation where they constantly need the drive, or they need to be reinforced to reach their goals and objectives. So what would you say is the key to keeping yourself driven and in that mode of always reaching for your goals and objectives? What practices, or what is it that helps you stay in that energy?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say a lot of the key to reaching, our goals and objectives is, one, to make sure that you know what your goals and objectives are, to make sure that there's a clear vision. And I knew going in that my vision was, if I'm going to do something big, you need a sort of plan for it. I'm a big sort of person of trial and error. And I think that the sort of driving force behind it all is spending time and surrounding yourself with people who share in the same vision as you. For that, it's my husband and also the team that we've been able to build over the last 5 years. We all share in the same end goal. And I think that that's so important, especially when setting your eyes on the prize, is how do you get there with people who don't necessarily share in the same vision? So making sure that you take time to take a step back and assess what it is that we're all trying to accomplish as a team, and how are we going to tread in the same direction. And I think that, that's kind of a great sort of practice. And I think if you have people who you're surrounded with who want the same things you do, you're all sort of going in the same way.
Yes, that's so important. It's interesting because the other day we had a woman on, and she said that one of the biggest issues was her friends and family, because they knew her and they're like, what are you doing? Are you crazy? Have you lost your mind? And sometimes the closest ones to us, they're really just trying to protect us. But when you tap into those people that share your vision, or even love your energy and want to be part of what you're doing, it really helps lift you up and keeps you on that road to, yes, we can do this. It really is surrounding yourself with people. I like to say I like to surround myself with people who give me encouragement and actually challenge me, because they
yeah,
challenge
absolutely.
me to be better. Right. Yeah, that's
100%.
great too. Yeah. So you were lucky in the sense that you found your calling. It came to you in a roundabout way. You told me this story, which was fascinating, how you took advantage of an opportunity, which I'd love you to share. And then just sort of go into how you resonated with that. What I'm trying to get at here is that a lot of people, women especially, have a little trouble finding their calling. We have a broad interest in many things, but you came about it because you fell into it. And how would you recommend entrepreneurs go about finding their special niche, their gift?
Yeah, that's such a interesting sort of story that I went through, and I think that it really comes down to looking for signs. I really believe that there's signs everywhere, and you sort of almost have to look for them and allow your sort of external circumstances to sort of drive you. So for me specifically, I was a paralegal. I worked at a litigation firm. I was a legal assistant at the time to a litigator who had been practicing for 15 years. And I was bored in my position. It didn't challenge me. It didn't allow me to flex my creative muscles. And I loved being creative. And so she was in the midst of transitioning into business development and marketing for the firm, more specifically business development coaching. And she was working on a ranking submission for one of the lawyers. And I had asked her, do you need any help with this? And she was like, yeah, absolutely. Can you, help draft this submission for this lawyer to rank for one of the Rising Star Awards, which was a big accomplishment and accolade for sort of rising star lawyers in Canada. And what I really loved about it was that it was an opportunity for me to be creative, but to storytell. And storytelling for me was something that I love, not even so much for myself, but I love to be able to tell other people's stories. And so the more that I sort of got into the communication side of things, and the more, her name is Jane as well, she sort of took me under her wing and, kept giving me things that, allowed me to sort of experiment with marketing and social media and content creation. And it came to a point where, it was very clear that that's the direction that I should be going. That's the stuff that, I woke up every day excited about what new project would land on my desk. And it sort of became clear to the point where Jane had actually said to me, I can't see you doing this legal assistant thing much longer. And so I think that it sort of comes down to finding out what it is that excites you and, waking up and sort of allowing yourself to sort of discover what it is that, you have the passion for, and then, sort of finding your calling and looking for those signs and allowing yourself to experiment in areas that you may not think that you, have been primed to do.
I love that. I love the look for the signs. So stay open to opportunity. And then then move into it. Give yourself the opportunity to see if that sign that's there is something that you would resonate with. I love that, because you're right. A lot of us don't see the signs, or we're so caught up in what we have to do or what we're doing. And like you said, you had that mentor who saw in you the passion that you had for creativity and the work that you put into it, which was probably over and above the call of duty. And then she was like, yeah, Marley, I can't see you doing this litigation stuff. It's just not who you are. But I love that. So look for signs, stay open to opportunity, and then give yourself the opportunity to try it, to try something new. Yeah, I love that story. Yeah, it was really, really like serendipitous. It really was.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So now you've moved into the whole social media communication, digital communication, which is huge, especially even more so today. And it's just going to keep expanding and growing. The industry is in the billions, multi-billion dollars. Now, you have said that social media is opportunity. I love that phrase. That is your phrase. And explain what that means and why it's so important in business success.
Yeah. So, I mean, like you said, it is a billion-dollar industry. It's sort of taken the communications and advertising world by storm. And it's basically, sort of taken off in a way where consumer behavior has changed. The way that people sort of do their research now and are influenced by companies and brands and service providers are different than the way, than the way things have been done previously. Beforehand you would, I'm talking about years and years ago, when you would open the yellow pages and you would look for a service provider, or things would sort of happen by referral. Today, the opportunity exists online, and you want to be where your prospects are, and your prospects and your competitors are online. So in the way where, billboards and bus stops and magazine articles sort of, were the traditional forms of advertising in past, now that has sort of transitioned online, and there's all sorts of, awesome analytics and results-driven data that allows you to market and target market more effectively. So it's just, it's an opportunity to reach and expose your brand and your business in a way that, you've never been able to do before. And the analytics and the data, like that's the stuff that sort of gets online marketers very excited is, with a billboard, we can't really tell you like how many people looked at the billboard to see what you do. But with social media, like we have all of that data. We can tell you how many people clicked over to your website, how many people engaged with your post. And that's opportunity for business owners.
Yes, I could see that. I mean, you're so right. And it opens up the world. I mean, it's, here we are, you're in Toronto, I'm in Arizona. I've connected with women entrepreneurs in South Africa and Italy, Australia. It's just incredible. So I know a lot of entrepreneurs, we get so busy in the world that we're doing, but we shy away from the social media only because obviously it needs an expert. And it does take a lot of time, and it is a profession. So, I always encourage entrepreneurs, if that is an area that is overwhelming for you, seek expertise, because that's like, we have Marley here, who's fabulous at what she does. She's very passionate, but it really will up level and accelerate your business. There's no question about it. And in fact, you mentioned branding, and that just what goes right into my next question, because brand positioning is so important and we hear a lot of it. So, people are like, oh yeah, it's, the branding, whatever. But as an entrepreneur, I believe it's so important to not just be consistent, but to know what your brand is. So just extrapolate that for us. So the entrepreneurs can be getting some information and learning about the importance of brand, but what it really means.
Yeah, so it's a really important concept to actually understand. And the very first question that we ask any client or prospect when we start our discovery process is, what is your brand? And when I say brand, I'm not necessarily just referring to your logo and your colors and your typography, but your brand positioning. What's your messaging? What sets you apart from your competitors? How do you stack up against your competitors? I'll use an example. Real estate agents. When you ask a real estate agent, what sets you apart from your competitors? An average agent will say, well, I really care about my clients, or, I can get you top dollar for your home. Yes, all agents can say that, but what really sets you apart? Like if I am in the market to list my home, why do I want to list it with you and not one of the other thousands of agents in Toronto? So you really need to sort of dig deep and know what your differentiator is. You need to know what your vision is and what your goals are and what your positioning is and what your voice is as a company. And that's always the first place to start before you even attempt at the online thing. It's really important to know, who you are, what you offer, and what clients get out of working with you. And your brand will eventually formulate your reputation.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that. Your brand will formulate your reputation. That's a takeaway. That's brilliant.
So there was
I love it.
Yeah. So there was a quote that has always resonated with me, and it goes by, your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely. So imagine what someone might be saying about you. So now I'm just really curious to give an example. You said about a real estate in the industry, because that's everywhere right now. And well, it always has been. So if you were asking a real estate agent, give us an example of what a realtor would say that sets them apart. I'm just really curious what that might be. Besides, obviously, getting the best price and da da da. What might they say?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's niches, right? So we
Mhm.
work with an agent in Toronto, and her niche is she's a single mom, and so she works with people who are selling the matrimonial home. There's a lot of work that goes into selling the matrimonial home, and that's sort of her niche. That sets her apart. So why would somebody who's going through a separation or a divorce want to seek out working with this agent is because she's been through it herself, and she works with people who are going through similar situations. So I know, and I as the prospect would have the confidence in her that she knows what I'm going through personally, so that she could help me navigate that situation. Um, and it's just very important to sort of, even like, right, I tell clients all the time, like, take a pen and paper and jot down what you think sets you apart. Do you have a talent in staging homes? Do you have connections in staging a home that maybe other agents don't? Do you specialize in selling, or are you a buyer's agent? So what is that differentiator that's going to set you apart? It could be geographic area. It could be, a niche. It could be a personal situation that's afforded you the experience to, delve into specific areas that makes you different than your competitors. And it's important to know what that is.
I love that. It's aligning yourself with your customer, and they would resonate
Oh,
with you
100%.
yes, in that particular case, because their story resonates with you. And funny enough, you went right into the story. So it's who you are. And I love this saying by Rumi: who you seek is seeking you. So
I love that.
that is something that resonates with somebody, because you're both aligning each other. So I love that, the fact that branding starts there, and some great information and takeaways. So changes in digital marketing now, the landscape has just exploded, especially over the
Yeah.
last year and a half or so. Give us a little insight into the changes in the digital marketing landscape.
Oh man, the landscape of digital marketing, it changes on the dime. Like, it could change weekly, it could change daily. Like, Facebook can introduce a new tool that all of a sudden takes over the algorithm. We're seeing that now with Instagram Reels, whereas, a year and a half ago, Instagram strategy included posting. You need some nice posts, and you need to engage your followers. And now there's posts, and there's stories, and there's reels, and there's guides, and you know um, there's sort of a method that goes into optimizing the algorithm so that you get seen. And so, because the landscape is changing so frequently, it's so important for our team, at least, to stay apprised of trends that are happening, news that's going on. Right now, that's really big with Facebook, is that the Apple iOS changes are happening. I don't know if you've heard about that, but basically, Apple is allowing their users to opt out of being targeted through Facebook ads. And so that's going to totally change the way advertisers are able to target iPhone users on
Mhm.
social media. And I'm talking about, both big retail brands that rely on iPhone users to purchase their products, but also, small businesses, small retail shops that have in past utilized iPhone users and utilized conversion strategy to target iPhone users. And so it's so important. I mean, Facebook and Apple have come out with direction on how to combat this change. And we're sort of going through this with all of our clients, making sure that certain things are happening, event codes are being implemented. There's sort of like brand security things that need to happen, and just staying apprised of changes and making sure that we're navigating the times in a way where our clients won't be negatively affected, but instead can take advantage of opportunity within the sort of confines of what digital marketing offers as opportunity. So I would say, in terms of like the digital marketing landscape, it is changing all of the time, sometimes way too fast. And it's just so important to stay on top of it.
Yes. See, this is why we need you. I was just like, whoa. I was like, okay, I need Marley. I was like,
Yeah.
that's a whole, this is why this is your profession, because it is a completely encompassed profession. It's absorbing. It takes all this time and energy. Yeah, to keep not only up with all of what's happening digitally, but also, to make sure your clients are branded properly and that they're, you're getting the message out there. And oh, it's fantastic. Thank you, Marley. Thank God you're here.
Yeah.
So, well, that being the case, thank you. That was very informative. So yes, we need to stay up on digital marketing and what's happening in the landscape. And good luck if you have time for that, everybody, because I certainly don't. But it's very important in your business, because this is where the world is. This is where the world is now. It's not, it's going there. It is there. We don't have a choice, whether kicking and screaming like I have been for years. It's just, that's the way it is. We got to get over it, So that being the case, you have some great questions that an entrepreneur needs to ask themselves when it comes to the benefits of digital marketing tools. For example, some key questions that we need to address to determine the most beneficial marketing tools. And there's something like, understand your audience, that sort of thing. So just maybe highlight some of those questions that an entrepreneur needs to ask themselves when they're looking at the digital space.
Yeah. So, the first thing that we get asked actually when we are working with any new client is, what platforms are right for me? And there's no one answer. It really depends on, the client, their demographic, their target audience, where their target audience spends their time. So, if you're a middle-aged to older-aged professional service provider, and most of your clients, are not on Instagram, but are on LinkedIn, then LinkedIn's a place for you. And it's so important to take the time to sort of vet your audience and get to know where they are, where they're spending their time, and how you can reach them effectively. So, I'll give a few examples. There's a lot, we're seeing a big shift in Instagram now, where professional service providers, coaches, business development coaches, real estate coaches, life coaches, lawyers, law firms, financial service advisors, they're spending a lot of time on LinkedIn, but it's actually the younger age demographic. A lot of the millennials and the sort of, I would say like 25 to 35-year-olds are spending a lot more time on Instagram, and their immediate networks are more so on Instagram. So for them, it's like, how can we develop a strategy to reach your audience where they are spending time, right? About a year ago, TikTok was all the rage, but it was all the rage for 18 to 20-year-olds. So unless that's your target market, if you're in retail and you're e-commerce and you're trying to target the, fresh out of high school going into college and university, you may want to be on TikTok. So it's really about determining, what platform is right for you based on your industry, your business, and your target audience, and sort of understanding that. Like, ask your audience those questions. Where do you spend your time? When you're online, where do you spend your time? It's always a great sort of exercise to go through is to, ask the questions, and don't be afraid to ask the questions. And I think that's where a lot of people sort of struggle, is they're afraid to ask. They're afraid to ask for testimonials. They're afraid to ask for feedback. They're afraid to ask, their target audience, what they're doing, where they're spending their time. How did they hear about you? That's a big one.
Right.
Did you ask your leads where they came from? And doing that research is just going to help you develop a stronger target marketing strategy.
Yeah, that's one of the vital practices. In fact, you went right into the next question, which is great, because some of the vital practices of being an entrepreneur are those that you just mentioned, like staying on top of what's relevant, research, reading, because like you said, especially in the digital world, things move so fast. And I love that you said, ask your questions. Surveying your client list is always something that entrepreneurs should do, because even for a product, especially if you're a coach, a lot of times people will build out a complete program and then they find out that, nobody's interested in that. They were really interested in this, not that. And you've spent all this time and energy building out this program. But if you had just maybe surveyed, you could survey your social media crowd. You could survey a handful of clients or prospects that you have. So yeah, I love that, because those are practices that we can all do. And like you said, don't be afraid to ask. I mean, that's a big issue. You feel like maybe you're imposing, but you're not, because they want to know, right?
Yeah, I mean, if there's one thing that I've learned is that you're not going to get answers without asking. And it's something that we've actually encouraged a lot of clients to pursue, is, when we ask for case studies or we ask for testimonials to share. And a lot of times we get pushback, like, I don't feel comfortable asking my client to share their story. And I'm always like, why? Like, a happy client that has a good experience with you would probably be more than happy to share their story. And I think it's just, again, like a pushing out of the comfort zone, and being okay with, asking for something that you want. And more than, I would say, like 9 times out of 10, you realize that people are actually way more open to providing you with the answers that you're looking for.
Yes, I agree completely. That's something that all entrepreneurs need to practice, and just step into it. It's really just taking your leadership and getting over the fact that you might be a little bit shy. I mean, we all have to learn sometimes, so you might as well start with people, that you're dealing with, and I'm sure, like you said, they're all happy, more than happy to help. So mentorship and entrepreneurship. I know we talked a little bit at the beginning. You told your story about your mentor, Jane. One thing is, I'd like you to address how important it is, but also, let's say if you're a younger person and you don't have a mentor, is there anything you could suggest for those individuals to find a mentor, or how would they look to see if there was somebody that wanted to mentor them?
Yeah. This is such an important topic. And especially now during COVID, I find that the younger generation is actually less likely to ask for help. Like, I see it with my nephew. I see it with, some of our friends' younger siblings, or children at this point, where, back when I was in, high school or university, we went to school, and it was a lot easier to sort of source out mentors. And I believe it's such an important part of development, because I truly believe that there's, people that you meet in your life that have an influence on you and, the things that you navigate and how you navigate things. And so, the one thing that I struggled with is, over the years, I actually learned this from my mom from a very young age, is she always instilled in me a comfort with asking for advice, or, asking to do more. And that's sort of what propelled me, when I was at Learners, to ask Jane, like, I'm bored, like, give me something to do, like, take me under your wing, show me the ways, show me the rope. And I think that that's an important sort of practice to instill in the younger generation, is to seek it, to seek, people who can guide you a little bit, and it's important, as I think, parents as well, to ask those questions like, what do you like to do? I mean, I'm doing it with my son now, who's 4 years old. I see that he loves sports. He just loves sports. And right now during COVID, like, there's not much for him to do, but like, I'll ask him, like, what do you like to, like, what do you want to do? You want to play soccer? You want to do this? And so my husband, Dave, like, seeked out an online virtual karate class for him. And there were like 4 people that are in the class, and he's learning. And this old karate teacher is like his hero now. And, the sort of same thing applies as you get older, is to, find those key, we call them centers of influence, and seek out their thoughts and seek out their assistance, and, see what you can learn from people. And I think it's a very important and really good practice for anybody.
I love that. Seek out your centers of influence and don't be afraid to ask, because you're right.
100%.
All of us have different knowledge, different gifts. And if you're inspired by someone, what's the worst? I was brought up with, what's the worst they can say is no. Is that going to kill you? Is that, it's just, and actually it never does happen. People are more than happy to share what it is that you're doing, or, what it inspires them, et cetera, et cetera. And then your world opens up. Then you're just like, oh my gosh, this is so interesting. Like, even speaking with you, you're providing so much information and insight into this entire digital social media communications. And yeah, so you're right. You just step out of your comfort zone, ask, and seek. I love it. Seek the. Mm-hmm.
And also the one thing I would say, the one thing I would say is also, like, not to be afraid of, rejection or a non-response. So, for example, before I got into being a paralegal, I wanted to be a lawyer. I actually wrote my LSAT. I applied to law school. And prior to doing that, I kid you not, I must have emailed about 250 lawyers in Toronto saying, let me come and work for you. Like, let me do anything. I'll come and do anything. Let me work for you. And so I ended up, out of 250 lawyers that I emailed, one lawyer wrote back to me, Joseph Newberger, who's a criminal lawyer in Toronto. And he was like, come in and meet with me. And out of, I'm telling you, over 250 lawyers, he replied. I ended up working for him for a year. He's actually a client of ours now. So it's so awesome that we're able to reconnect again. But again, it was just about, like, I wanted to go into law. There was something about law that, intrigued me, and just source out the answers. I realized over time that I actually didn't want to go to law school. But it wasn't until I sort of did that and went through that practice and had Joseph Newberger telling me, you trust me, you don't want to go to law school, that, that stuff happens. But I really believe that there's certain people that you meet throughout your life, and you have to just be open to seeking out those opportunities.
I love that, Marley. Oh my gosh, that's a fabulous, fabulous story, because that's something all of us can do. And now, of course, you don't have to send a letter. You can just do it on your computer. And I wanted to add that a lot of these individuals, if you're looking for to shadow someone or volunteer your time, LinkedIn is probably one of the best tools to seek out business individuals who may want to help you or steer your career, or even go in and do some volunteer work. But yeah, that is a fabulous idea. So if anyone is on the fence, you have no excuse now. We'll send Marley after you for sure. So team management. Now you have expanded your business, which is incredible. You have you have employees, et cetera, et cetera. And that was obviously a new step for you, moving into that as boss lady or leader lady more so. So you have a growing team at this point. How do you manage it effectively?
That is something I'm still working on. I think that effective management and effective leadership takes time. It's definitely something, even though we're over 5 years in, I'm still learning. I mean, I came from a place where I wasn't in management. I had a manager and I had a boss, and I reported to somebody, over me. And so, I think that, it comes down to, again, like making sure that we're all aligned in terms of, vision and opening lines of communication, and making sure that our team feels comfortable communicating, with other fellow team members, and also communicating with management effectively, and making time for, and this is something we have to get better at, that's kind of a setback with COVID, not being in an office and doing things virtually, is more like team culture, and optimizing team culture, and how can we grow our team, and grow the relationships effectively. And I think that, a happy team is an effective team. And there's times, of course, where pressures are higher, and especially with COVID and dealing with clients who have anxiety about their businesses, and team members who are working from home, who have children at home, or who are working from home and live with their parents, or whatever the situation is just being understanding to people's situations and being there for one another. And I think that that's really important, is just like developing a sense of understanding and a sense of community, and managing that effectively.
Yes,
I think that's
absolutely.
most important.
Yeah, because we're working in such close proximity nowadays, not necessarily in the office, but it's like a working family is what I call it. So,
Yeah.
when you all support each other, then that's when you're aligned, and that's when your business excels, because everybody's got an interest in, it's not you're the boss and I'm the employee and you can, just
Yeah.
at the whim fire me. No, because we're all invested here. So yeah, I think that's so important. And I know you're learning as you grow and you go. But I feel that you're doing a great job, because just as we got on, you said that, you had some employees there with their children. So I thought, oh, that's great. Nowadays, well, you're still more secluded with COVID, but, you bring the pets, you bring the kids, as long as you get your work done. It doesn't mean you have to be in a cubicle all day, staring at four walls.
Yeah.
That's the old days. The young
Right.
kids don't even know that. But so you're a mompreneur, what I refer to as a mompreneur, and you have so much on the go. Oh my gosh, your children are young, your business is young, your husband and you work together. As you just said, you're hiring team members all the time now because your business is expanding. What do you advise other mompreneurs, and how do you time manage? I mean, I can't even go there.
Yeah. Some days feel like a whirlwind, for sure. I think that it comes down to time blocking. I have found that time blocking to be just very effective. Like, especially when, my kids are in daycare, so thankfully they're out of the house, but there was a time when they were home for quite a few months last year. And, when there's a COVID case, the daycare shuts down for 2 weeks, and we're, back at home all shacked up together. And there just needs to be a method, and there needs to be a time. Like Dave and I would have, a couple of hour stretches, and while he was on, I was with the kids. And while, I was on, he was with the kids. We got alone time. And, I said this, during our first call, is I really believe it takes a village. I believe that village is not necessarily just your, in-house or, in-person support, but it's also, the time you take to talk to your friends, to vent, the, employee communication, the venting. I vent all the time to my sister-in-law, and maybe she may not be there to pick my kids up and help me, but at least I have somebody to speak to about it, and just relying on people to sort of help you navigate the time. And I think that, when it all comes down to it, if you can just properly time block your time and properly prepare, and that's important for moms, is for your kids to sort of understand some sort of schedule. There was a time where schedules were out the window in my house at the beginning of COVID, back in March, April last year, where my, at the time, 2 and 3-year-old were going to bed at like 10:30 p.m. and waking up at 9 o'clock in the morning. But, as soon as we went back onto a schedule with some sort of consistency, like, we were all happier. So I think time management is a really big thing. And then just, putting in place those sort of vehicles of support, whatever that may be, to sort of help you, navigate through.
Absolutely. Yes. I like to call it vehicles of support, because women especially, we need to vent, we need to, express what's happening in our lives, and we are connectors. So I think that's, you're right. It is a village. And when you can rely on those, because I have a couple of sisters and they're both professionals. Well, I have several sisters. What am I talking about? They're all professionals. They're all entrepreneurs, and they rely on each other to help each other. One's a professional chef. So, she helps with the other one who's a stockbroker, and then the other one's a realtor, and unfortunately those ones aren't all in the same city, but you're right. We all help each other, and that's the way we can get through so much more in our life. And it makes it richer too, because it's a give and take.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have one question here, because we're on the Epic Vision Zone, and that I love to ask every guest. And if your life were an epic story, what would the title be?
I think that was one question I didn't read, and now I'm on the spot.
I know most people don't, because it's at the end.
I think that's a great question. I want to say tenacity. One word, bold, and just about pushing through and just going. Get after it. Like, fail, get up, keep going.
I love
tenacity.
Tenacity. That would be a book I'd pick up for sure. I'd be curious. I'm going, okay, what's this all about? I love it. Tenacity. Great title. Now, just share with our audience your offer, because you have a very generous offer that you wanted to put out there for everyone.
Yeah. So, just as we spoke about earlier, the importance of brand positioning, I was thinking about what we could possibly offer somebody who, wants to, attack the social media and the digital marketing landscape, and where to start. And I think the very first place to start is, again, your brand positioning. We call it a brand guide. So the offer is 15% off of our regular brand guide, which, sort of has a range depending on, your business, your industry. We do have ranges of pricing, but basically anybody who sort of comes through from, Epic Vision would, there's a voucher, and, present that to us, and we'll give you a 15% discount on your first digital brand guide or revamped brand guide. I know we deal with a lot of clients who already have a brand guide, but they want to update it, enhance it, elevate it. So that's the offer. And I think it's a very sort of timely and good place to start, is spending time. And I think that's one of the most overlooked elements, is spending time really drilling down your brand, and having that brand guide sort of provides some clarity.
Yes, absolutely. A question for you: is the brand guide a digital download, or is it something that you walk clients through? Is it a digital?
Yeah. So
download?
The process basically. Yeah, so we have an internal process for creating a digital brand guide, where we have we would have about an hour and a half meeting where we have a series of questions, like a questionnaire. It ranges from, tell me everything about your business, tell me everything about your audience. We really sort of poke and prod those questions out of you. And then we take all of that information from the questionnaire and we develop a digital brand guide that is a digital download that we would send you. It would have, your brand positioning, your audience, your target audience, your mood boards, your colors, your logos, your fonts, your all of that. And it's pretty much the holy grail of your brand for your company. And it can be used to, if you're in the midst of redeveloping your website, most web developers will ask you what your brand guide is to give them sort of direction on color schemes and fonts and imagery and that kind of thing. So it's really just sort of the overall direction of your whole brand for your company.
I love it. I'm so glad I asked you. I had no idea. I had a completely different vision. So for me, what I heard, it's like a discovery brand call, because you said that you get an hour and a half. So that's really valuable. Wow. That's
so
fantastic.
we would go through that. Yeah, so we would go through that call and then we would develop a brand guide. That's yours, you own it.
Right.
It's yours to do what you wish to do with it.
I love it. I think that's essential. Oh my gosh, everybody should take advantage of that, because like you said, you can take that and that could be your foundation, and then you build from there, and all kinds of light bulbs will start to go on, because like you said, you ask opening questions that get the wheels moving, because often we don't know what questions to ask ourselves. So that is fabulous offer. Thank you so much, Marley. And everybody, be sure to go to be sure to go to Marley's bio page on the Summit directory, where you'll find the links to all of her information and their website as well, and her offer. And be sure to look up Marley on LinkedIn and other social media platforms. I'm sure you're on all of them. No problem. And be sure to follow me as well on Instagram at Jane Applegath, and check out how you can become an epic entrepreneur and make your dreams come true at janeapplegath.com. Once again, this is the Epic Vision Zone, transforming your dream into epic success. And thank you, Marley, for being here with us. Congratulations for signing up for the Female Entrepreneur Revolution. We're bringing you some of the most exciting female entrepreneurs from around the globe to share with you their knowledge, their ideas, their inspiration, and more importantly, their resources to elevate you to prosperity and freedom. And by being here, you're on the cusp of something great, your epic future. I'm Jane Applegath, founder of the Epic Vision Zone and producer of the Female Entrepreneur Revolution. Be sure to get your VIP pass and join me after the summit on June 16th for a very special VIP coaching session, where we'll have hot seating, summit Q&A, and a special guest appearance by one of our speakers just for you, where we'll ignite your vision, up-level your confidence, and set you on the path to your dreams' epic success. This is your opportunity calling. It's time to take action. Get your VIP pass now. I can't wait to see you on the other side.